See, folks, I'm going to show you how easy it is for me to drop into the whoa spiritual lingo that these dudes like Aubrey, Marcus used, and all these other fake-ass gurus, bitches use. It is so easy for me to drop in there, to that space, where what happens is, let me explain what it is. My nomenclature, the words I use, take you on a spiritual journey into the abyss, deep into your soul. And what eventually happens is, just like when I look over here at the Mount San Jacinto, that mountain basically represents Mount Sinai. And Aubrey, you're like Moses. And just like he traversed up to Mount Sinai to speak to God, God has spoken to you and to you, to your wife, and to your lover here. And what he's embodied in you is the spirit that's anything that's possible. That if you want to open up the windows of love to Eros, you can do it. If you want to basically spread your spiritual seed into the abyss, into the unknown, it may cause some post-tragic inconveniences, aka pain. But as you move forward through that, you become stronger. Your relationship deepens because it's based on truth. Now, what truth is that? Truth is that however you feel, you express them. So all your thoughts now are shared. There is no holding back anything. And through this, there's going to be pain. There's going to be suffering between your wife and you and your lover. But whatever pain you feel, Aubrey, whatever pain your wife feels, see, your wife may go back to when she was a young girl and her little sister was taking mommy's attention away from her. And she didn't want to speak to her sister to her 20s again, as she confessed on your podcast. And see, consequently, what happened is she went back into that mind space when you brought your paramour, your lover, which was sent to you on high by God. Remember when you were working out in the gym and you got the message to swipe right on her picture? That was God speaking to you, Aubrey. No, it wasn't your ego. It wasn't your ego at all. It was not you wanting to have your cake and eat it too, as the shallowness in others might perceive it to be. But what it was a true calling from God, Aubrey. And when the spirit on your Egyptian trip told you in that temple of Isis, if I have that right, that you were to conceive and spread your seed to both of these women, that was in the stars for you. Just like the burning bush spoke to Moses out in the desert, God spoke to you inside that Egyptian temple and told you to have children with both these women. That was God speaking to you. Now, how do you know that was God versus being in... See, folks, I haven't even gone down the woo-woo fucking trail yet on this bullshit. I'm not even going as deep as I can go with this shit. What I'm trying to tell you is there's a few different guys that like to fuck around with young chicks who are married. The ones that do it behind their wife's back, and then the ones that do it in front of their wives and just tell their wife about it. Now, they want to tell their wife about it because, you know, they'll feel guilt, they'll feel shame. So they think if they're truthful, it's better. I agree, it is better. But what's even better is don't get married if you're going to have a fucking lover. Keep marriage sacred, dude. The fact that you want to have your cake and eat it too tells me you're weak. Now, why would I say that? Dude, if you've got time for two women in your life, you're not that productive. Seriously, dude. You're not that productive. You're 41. There's a lot more you could do. Don't spend so much time loving two women. Go out there and give back at a children's hospital or something. You know, in other words, this guy wants to have kids with, you know what? It's the Elon Musk ego trip, where it's just guys who want their cake and eat it too. Let's just admit it for what it is. And they come across like the Spirit told them that they should conceive a child with this woman. No Spirit told you that, Jack. You're fucking full of bullshit if you think that. It's all your ego. Folks, when you think God's talking to you, when you think some great Spirit on high is telling you to do something, when you claim to hear voices of God or whatever, that's not God. God does not speak to you like that. You're not some great prophet. Trust me, folks. I've been around over 60 years. God never spoke to me that way. He doesn't. He doesn't speak to me that way. He doesn't speak to you that way. Now, what does speak to you that way is your inner ego. That's what it is. And you know what, folks? Just because you do shrooms, just because you do DMT, and it strips your ego away from you while you're on the substance, a lot of times when you get off these substances, you can start thinking you're better than other people, you're deeper than other people, because you've experienced it and they haven't. When really that's a falsehood, because we all have DMT in our bodies. So everybody's going on that DMT trip when they're dreaming anyway. So don't be pretentious and pretend that you've got some special way, you're a guru. These guys who go down to South America, take ayahuasca, smoke DMT, take shrooms. I mean, I can do shrooms fucking anytime I want. It's nothing. It's their egos. I know how it goes. I know how it... Wait, trust me. Nobody's a bigger psychonaut than me, as old as I am. I mean, very few people are my age and have experienced as much as I have with psychedelics. Or just any of that shit. Trust me. God does not speak to you through DMT. God, there is no God that is above consciousness or love. And that's all within yourself anyway. So when you say God spoke to you, how can God fucking speak to you when God's within inside you anyway? So if you're saying God spoke to me, then I can say it too. It's some of these people are so delulu. And like I said, I know, trust me, if I had never done psychedelics, I couldn't speak this way. I've done a lot of psychedelics. Trust me, I shroomed more last year than any time in my life. I can tell you. Just because it may separate your ego while you're doing it, which I find isn't always true anyway, depending on the experience, what happens is these guys' egos are so fucking big, they start thinking they are that after a while. They take the experience of being a human and they make it more than it really is from their perspective, and you can hear it in the way they talk. Now, to the average dumb fuck, they're using the big spiritual buzzwords, so it sounds kind of wooey, and he must know what he's talking about, because listen to the words, he sounds like he's a deep... Dude, trust me, folks. People that are really that deep, trust me, they don't really sound like that. That sounds more like ego and pretentiousness, if you really want to know the fucking truth. If you really want to know the deep truth, and I should know, because when I talk that way, I feel like I'm just a pretentious asshole, trying to sound like I know more than I actually know. It's just in the way you use those words. What you're trying to do is make it seem like you're, in other words, listen to his podcast. What sounds better, what he's saying, or if he just came out and said, hey, I told my wife I found some bitch and I want to fuck her and have her kid. See, in other words, if I wrap it in some great spiritual, divine eros and all this other wonky-tonk bullshit, it sugarcoats it better for my wife than if I just tell my wife, you know what, I want to bring a third chick into our relationship. I want her to fuck her. Maybe she could have my kid. In other words, if I make it seem like it's coming from some great spiritual place and it's beyond me, it makes it seem like it's divine, like it's written in the stars, like it was just meant to be. All of this, as we all know, is what? Bullshit. How do I know? Tell me if these people are in a threesome, as I call it, 2-3 years from now. The answer will be a big no. That's how I know it's bullshit. Because let's see if it stands the test of time. See, something that stands the test of time is really meant to be. Now, once it goes away, they'll say, well, it was only meant for a brief period. Well, you're talking about having a kid with her. You know, I mean, come on, dude. You're sounding more like a simp and some... Just be honest with your wife. I want to fuck another chick. You're not enough for me. And I may want her to have my baby. I mean, why sugar fucking coat it, dude? When you start sugarcoating this shit, you really sound more like a simp than you actually really are anyway. It starts sounding too woo-woo tutu. And after a while, it becomes bullshit. And see, with guys like me, my bullshit detector is like tuned to high anyway. Now, what would be the true test of all this? The true test is I'll do shrooms next week. I'll eat like 4 grams of shrooms. 3 to 4 grams of shrooms. And then I'll listen to it again. Okay, Aubrey? I'll listen to part of it again while I'm on 4 fucking shrooms. And what will I come up with? Let's see. But I know my bull detector. Maybe when I'm on the shrooms, it's going to peel away a lot of this bullshit. And I'll be able to detect. I'm going to listen to it again when I'm on shrooms. Because that's the true test. Now, what do you mean? That's the true test. Because then my bullshit meter's all the way fully up. Because now, that's the true test. Right now, he's not passing the bullshit test by any stretch of the imagination. Aubrey, your podcast sounds really weak, dude. I hate to come down hard on you, but you're just not that convincing. Folks, I want you to go to Aubrey Marcus to listen to him talk to this doctor. And I'm not going to pin the link in here. Maybe I will, I don't know. It's just so full of bullshit with this dude. You're going to get the same vibes I'm getting. Wait, I want people to listen to this. And you'll get the same fucking vibes I'm getting from this dude. Which is what, Carrie? He's full of shit. He's full of shit. Now, there's another argument to be made. Well, people would say, well, what if he just cheated on his wife and didn't tell her he was banging this chick and kept it all on the side? His wife wouldn't know, probably, may not know. He may get away with it. But yet he'd be feeling guilty. So what he's trying to do, and he wouldn't be able to do shrooms and shit, feel that way. So he needs to open the relationship up and have it honest. Because no guy wants to cheat on their wife and do shrooms. That would be a big no-no. That would put you on a guilt trip. See, all this is, he wants to basically fuck around on his wife, but since he's a psychonaut, he knows that he's going to have a bad trip if he's cheating on his wife because that's all going to come to the subconscious. So he's got to be open about it. And hey, you know what? That much I respect about the guy. But then I look at it as he's trying to reverse justify the whole thing. Now, do I personally care whether he wants to bang 2 women and have sex with 2 women? And not really. Other than, there's enough single dudes out there where one quote-unquote alpha male, I don't even consider this dude alpha, but I don't even use those terms. But there's enough women out there where this guy doesn't have to be hogging a bunch of pussy. So there's arguments to be made pro and con, but if you listen to his thing, you'll come up with the same conclusion I've come up with, which is basically he's full of shit.